corridor. That means a few tornadoes are possible. And then this is that gorilla hail that we were talking about, 2 inches or greater. It's likely that we could see it here right in that same vicinity because you get these big, supercells, these rotating thunderstorms that put down not only the tornadoes, but also the huge hail as well. So there's the warm front that Jim was also mentioning. And within that, this is the warm sector, this whole area of that warm, moist air, that buoyant air. You can see the storms here firing up already, but we will get that instability as we continue throughout the day, especially with some of that daytime heating. Temperatures are in the 70s and even 80s into portions of Texas, so you get more of that popping off. We do have some of those low-level winds with a little turn there that could support tornadoes. We do have a low-level jet. It's not this like massive, huge low-level jet pumping in. If we did have this like big stream coming straight up from the south, and it could have been a lot worse actually today, but it's still not going to be great. I mean, we do have strong winds coming around that trough, and that's cranking in the energy, and that is going to create the threat for the damaging winds that are going to come in, along with the tornado and the hail threat. One of the reasons we can have some of that larger hail is you have to have that cooler air, because the hail, you could have hail way up in a thunderstorm, but it melts when it falls, right? I mean, it is coming down quite quickly, 50, sometimes even 100 miles an hour. But if you have that cold air, that can help support some of that hail and keep it very, very large. So here's a look around 2, 3 o'clock. That's when things really start to go, and they continue to pop off as we head into the evening hours. Everything will be pushing over the Mississippi River into our Friday morning, which gives us the potential, by the way, of flooding from Texas all the way to Georgia. But notice how we lose all that oomph in the atmosphere, that forcing. Look at this kind of orangey red. That's back towards really kind of south of the I-20 corridor as we head into our Friday afternoon. So, yes, tomorrow we have the threat for severe weather. Not as potent, but it certainly exists there. And then we do have, again, big hailers possible into Texas. Fort Smith, I mean, this area, we are no strangers to severe weather. Reynolds, of course, and we are going to get some of the worst stuff as we head around dinner time and as we head to bed.
My goodness. Stephanie,
right? Some of us a little more, some of us a little less, depending on what side of town you're on. Let's talk about how our system in the Midwest moves into the Northeast. I kind of talked about that when I was on just a few minutes ago. As it pushes into the Northeast, it is going to weaken. It's not going to be as intense. We're not expecting all this severe weather in the Northeast, but we are expecting to add to the rainfall that we've already gotten since March 1st, which has just been over the top, overflowing rain here, anywhere from 3 to even 6 inches of rain since March 1st. And it's still going to be plenty warm for us here. In fact, we do see our above average temperatures in the Northeast lasting all the way through like Sunday. It kind of hangs on along the I-95 corridor. And then as we head into our Monday, Tuesday, we do get a cool off. But what do you have today? That's what you want to know, right? Let's just do one thing at a time here, Abrams. We have showers from the Great Lakes moving over into the Atlantic coast. And notice everything kind of blows through fairly quickly, but it will be a messy Friday. Saturday's looking pretty good. Sunday, that's when we get some more cloud cover to come in and perhaps some light rain and light snow. And notice that that clears out as well. And we will see very little snow falling here, Reynolds. We're really kind of getting to the end of it here.
Go. Steph, we go from the north.
Let's have a look at the active weather that is storming through the Midwest and parts of the plains. By the way, I was looking up some of the reports that we're getting out of some of these thunderstorms, and a lot of it is quarter size to half-inch hail. And so that is definitely not good, pinging on your roof and on your car. But we did see hail up to 2, 3, even 4 inches. We had soft tennis ball, softball size hail here in some places. That also, by the way, we had a couple reported tornadoes yesterday, too. All of this weather is going to be pushing eastbound here, riding along that warm front for us as well. Springfield, you're about to get rain. Peoria, heavy rain for you. Chicago, you're in it. We could potentially see some flight delays here at the airport. As we zoom in a little bit closer to some of these cells, you're going to see that there's heavy rain also associated with them. So maybe some localized flooding. But the good thing is they're moving, and we do have a severe thunderstorm watch until noon. That means conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather. That is not only through the center of the country, but it expands down into Dallas, Waco, and we will see it shift east as we head into tomorrow. Few tornadoes are possible, a 4 out of 10 on our tornado condition index, and damaging hail. I mean, when you're getting an inch or more, that's when you are going to see damage. We are talking 2+ inches. Can you imagine a golf ball? Let's do this. 2 inches is a lime. 2 inches is a lime. Imagine that coming down, and hitting you on the head. It could do some damage, and obviously to your car. We got to get to Jim, but I wanted to show you how the south starts popping off this afternoon and continues on into the evening, Jim.
You're worried about Little Rock.
And then in the south, things pop off this
there's
afternoon.
Really a large area covered. So I haven't even covered that. You're going to cover that.
Right, we're going to cover that. And then, by the way, it moves into the northeast. There's another round coming through. There's a lot going on for us here. So we're just going to take you region by region, day by day. Let's start with today in the south. We do have that potential for severe weather and, yes, hail, damaging winds. Also, as we look at the threat for hail, it's going to be quite big. And once you get these hailstones growing bigger and bigger and bigger, now it does vary when the hail is coming down to the ground. But when you get golf ball size hail, it can be having a fall rate at like 40, 50 miles an hour. So imagine getting hit by a golf ball with it moving that fast. We had 4-inch hail yesterday, and the fall rate can be over 100 miles an hour. So imagine a softball coming at you at 100 miles an hour and it's a solid piece of ice. That can definitely do some damage. So damaging hail for us here. We also have the threat of a few tornadoes possible, all thanks in part to this. Look at this warm air coming up. And there's our warm front. That's the leading edge of the warm air. Storms riding along that today, and we'll see them pop off ahead of this. You might not see this all that often on a weather map. This is called a dry line. So you have warm, moist air ahead of it, warm, dry air behind it. Then there's your cold front and the snow into the four corners, which we'll get to. Ahead of that dry line, which, by the way, they move during the day as everything heats up, that moves east, and you can see storms fire along that dry line as well. So there's a lot of lifting mechanisms here in the atmosphere for us to see storms fire up. We do get a little bit of low-level winds turning with height. This could be a lot worse because, yes, we do have a low-level jet, especially this morning, but it's a little more ragged into the afternoon. But if we had strong low-level jet punching in, the southerly winds, and then we have this, which is our jet-level winds coming across, we could see a huge tornado threat. But we don't have that exact setup, but there is still enough for that to happen. The other thing is when you have cold air aloft, that can help create the very large hail. And we had 1.5, 2, 3, 4-inch hail yesterday. It was big. And so remember, hail is ice. And so it has to be cold for it to form. But as it's falling through the atmosphere, it's going to be warming. It's going to be bumping into all sorts of things. And so that's why they get smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you have cold enough air and big enough stone, they can get all the way down to the ground. So Jim was showing the storms through the Midwest. Watch all of this fire up, especially this afternoon. And as we head into the evening as well, crossing over the Mississippi, this all then is going to be making its way to the I-10 and I-20 corridors. So Memphis, we're going to clear out tomorrow morning. But anywhere from Texas to Georgia, there's a potential for that flooding and some of these stronger storms, especially back into College Station and San Antonio. And again, that threat for hail is going to be there. 2 inches or greater. Remember, severe hail is 1 inch in diameter. That's it. Golf ball size hail is 1.34. 2 inches is lime-sized hail. Just to give you an idea of what you're dealing with here. Of course, Fort Smith, no stranger to severe weather, and we will see several rounds come through. So don't think this is a one-liner coming in and then you're done and done. We will have multiple rounds coming through. We finally clear out as we head into the evening hours. And then, of course, everything's going to be riding here along the highways, Reynolds. So it's going to be a stormy night in Little Rock. Look at that coming in around 9, 10, 11 o'clock for us.
Wow, rough time, say the very.
Jim, always humbling and always interesting. And that's why we like it. That's why we keep going back to it, because we learn, we grow. Isn't that what life's about, is learning and growing and being open to all sorts of different perspectives? That's what the weather gives us, because each system is different. Here's a look at what we'll get into the Northeast. Now, not a lot of rain associated with this, but you'll get the clouds and you will get, obviously, some showers, but it's going to be quite light in the Northeast, which is good because we have seen so much as of late. I'm talking 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 inches just since the beginning of March. And a lot of this came in the first 10 days of March and you're enjoying, I know, these 50s, the 70s. I mean, New York City is going to be going nuts today with 71 and sunny. The same in Binghamton. We have the 60s and sunshine. Look at D.C. Get on the shorts. But it doesn't last through a Friday because that's when really this massive rain and clouds moves into the northeast. It does clear out, though, thankfully, for our Saturday. So Saturday's looking quite nice here as we roll into our Saturday night. If you have a late night or Sunday early morning, you are going to be dealing with some clouds, a little bit of rain for us, and not loads of snow, really. And then that pulls away, maybe a little lake effect on the backside. But no way we're going to make up the deficits that we have. It's just there's nothing really showing that that's going to happen. Here are the numbers. A lot of this is at elevation and isn't going to do a whole lot at lower levels. It's got to be a lot colder than that because Reynolds, even Pittsburgh, I mean, look at Saturday, 57 and sunny. This is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. No doubt about that.
To Denver now, where the metro is waking up to heavy snowfall. Could be the biggest snow event to hit the region this season, I should say. CBS national correspondent Dave Malkoff joins us right now from west of the metro. He is in Golden, Colorado, to be more specific there. Dave, let's go through it here. First, how are road conditions? We were just showing some video, and it looked quite rough out there.
Stephanie, it was treacherous.
Of course, you don't want to crowd the plows, so make sure you give them enough room, which I know you did, Dave. You have a lot of experience with being in these types of conditions. What is the snow like, Dave? How packable is it for kids that are out of school and want to play in it? You said, Dave, I mean, we're like 20 inches or so below average, so we need a lot more to make up for this season. But let's talk about the cold because you're all bundled up there, and I heard your car battery even died. I don't know if that was due in part to the cold.
Yeah, I just lost you for a second, but try.
And, you know, obviously it's quite cold. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the cold and the wind. And I was saying I heard that your car battery died, maybe due in part to some of that cold.
Yeah, it is.
Like that, we'll continue to show everyone that. Dave Malkoff with the partners of CBS. Get inside, warm up a little bit here because it is a very active start to the day here. And you can see the rain, the showers, the thunderstorms pushing right through the Midwest, making their way into the Northeast this evening. So we'll start to clear out from west to east. Springfield, the rain's coming into you. Peoria, we're not finished yet. Chicago, we've got a lot of rain still to get through, meaning we could have a lot of delays here at the airport because it's not only rain. Gusty winds, hail. I've seen some reports of quarter-inch to half-inch size hail. That's not severe. That's why we don't have any severe thunderstorms here. Severe hail is 1 inch in diameter or larger, and that's when you're going to start to see maybe some dents here and there. So keep out for that. All right, Sterling, we're in the clear. This is riding along I-80. More rain coming through Aurora, Chicago. As you head northbound into the northwestern area, Gary, Indiana, you have a lot more coming your way. Kansas City, we've got a break here. All of this is making its way right onto I-44. From Lebanon right into St. Louis. Columbia, we are clearing out as Warrentown is still going to have to go through a lot more rain. Severe thunderstorm watch means conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms. We've seen those this morning. We've seen tornado warnings already this morning. A couple reported tornadoes yesterday with hail up to 4 inches in diameter. That's the size of a softball. Imagine that falling from the sky at like 100 miles an hour. That's kind of the estimate of those. Obviously, they're going to vary depending on the melting rate and the shape and all that sort of stuff. But it just gives you a gist of how fast those are falling out of the sky. We'll see a lot more of that today. A few tornadoes. And then, Jim, 2-inch size hail is lime size. That's coming at you, around 40 miles an hour. Imagine a solid lime of ice at that fast.
Yeah, depending on St. Louis. All right, that's just one area.
Yes, the
that
south
we're watching.
We continue through midnight and into the morning hours, right? We don't get that break like we will with the northern part of this. So here's your severe weather in the south today. And it's all going to be stretching east as we head into tomorrow. We have all the damages. We have the gusty winds. We have the threat of a few tornadoes. We also have the threat for hail. And notice that this says 2 inches or greater. Yesterday, we had 4-inch size hail, which is the size of a softball. 2 inches is the size of a lime. And just to give you some perspective, when you have hail that's 2 to 4 inches, it can be falling from the sky at 40, 50, 60 plus miles an hour. So imagine a solid lime or a solid softball of ice coming at you at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. That does damage. And so that is what we could see today. It's what we saw yesterday. We saw 2, 3, 1.5 inch. I saw up to 4 inches. Of course, how fast it's falling down to the earth will vary on the size, the melting rate, and all that sort of stuff. But it just gives you an idea of how fast this is coming down and why it can do such damage. Here is our southerly flow. Look at this warm, moist air coming up. And I know you don't typically see this all the time on our maps, but this is called a dry line. And ahead of it, you have warm, moist air. Behind it, you have warm, dry air. And you get daytime heating. And this actually can shift to the east during the day, and it shifts back at night. Don't have time to get into the dynamics of that, but just take my word on it. And so along this, it's a lifting mechanism. You could see storms fire up just like we're seeing on our warm front and like you see sometimes with your cold front. So here is a lot of energy, and that is going to just get worse as we head through the day because we have all that daytime heating, we have the moisture, and we do have some low-level winds giving us a little bit of spin. These aren't super intense. It would have been a lot worse of a situation if this was even more intense because you have a little bit of southerly flow, and then you have that jet wind coming in a little more southwesterly. So that's giving us a little spin, hence why our Torcon values are in the 3 and 4 range. And when it comes to the hail, we do have some cold air aloft. And you need cold air for hail. It's ice after all. And so if you have that cold air, you can get that big hail to grow. And then, of course, as it falls, it actually melts depending on how cold or warm it is throughout the layers that it's going through. So as we go through today, this northern stuff's going to go into the northeast. We start popping off here in the south. That's where we will see the storms continue into the evening, into the overnight, crossing over the Mississippi River Valley. And then we lose some of that energy. So the strongest storms will start to be kind of I-20 to I-10 down to the Gulf Coast. Notice by a Friday afternoon, a lot of it is really just in those coastal areas. But you could have some stronger thunderstorms tomorrow morning here into the Carolinas and Georgia. And again, there's that lime-sized hail here for us, Reynolds, from Austin to San Antonio.
Okay, from
1 million people are under a winter storm warning, including the Denver metro area, as our winter storm blasts the region. Chris Bruin is live right now in Lone Tree, which is basically south of the Denver metro. And boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, Chris, it looks really rough out there. Talk more about how the roads are and the wind and the cold. Give us it all.
Yeah, we're going to do it all. You know, there's
real quick, Chris, here. I know we got to get back to the severe weather. I just want to see how packable it was before we a little bit there. You can make one. All right, Chris, you go have fun in that snow where it's safe to do so, but we got to get right back to that severe weather and our tornado warnings with Reynolds.
Okay, let's dive right into it.
We have a lot of severe weather that is popping off this morning, and right now there's been a lot of winds. We've seen hail reports up to about a ½ inch, though yesterday we saw hail up to 4 inches in diameter, which we could see again today. And I wanted to circle these. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. That means that severe thunderstorm is happening or is about to, but I'll tell you what, these are severe thunderstorms. And then we also have tornado warnings within our severe thunderstorm warning as well. So there's a line of storms right here. Everything's moving east at 55 miles an hour. So they're going very fast as you would on the highway. You see Madison, St. Charles, St. Louis counties are under this tornado warning, but there's another one to the north, another 2 to the north, and then this one was just issued as well. So if you live near Litchfield or right here on 55, this is where you're going to have to watch for the storms as they move away from Jersey, heading eastbound here. Also going through Alton almost. You're about to get hit by some very strong winds with this, and there is a little rotation. It looks like the atmosphere is really trying to get some spin going along this line here, but it's struggling to make it happen. Now, you could have a tornado at any moment within any of these cells, and you can see some of that broad rotation here on our velocity, but what's happening is it's not quite there, and that's why you have a tornado warning, because we have the spin in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and at any moment that spin could be on the ground, and that's when you have a tornado. So this whole line, at the very least, is going to give us some strong gusty winds and that hail as well, as it all continues to move eastbound here. Even north of the severe thunderstorm warning, Springfield, you're about to get in on some heavy rain. Let's name a few other areas for you as this moves eastbound on 70, Edwardsville, Litchfield, Highland, Pana, you are all in the line of this as we head over the next, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes as it races its way eastbound. So we're going to continue to watch all these storms. We anticipate, in fact, more severe weather to fire up as we head throughout the day. Also, Kankakee into Illinois, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that, Jim, has already been extended by the Storm Prediction Center as it makes its way towards the I-65 corridor. Again, a lot of these have that hail and damaging winds right now.
Hey, Jillian, did they